Build compelling real-time apps quickly and scale them globally with the PubNub real-time network. Only PubNub delivers the core building blocks needed for any real-time application. Find out for yourself by signing up for free today. Visit pubnub.com. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 152. We're recording this live on October 18th. That is a Friday afternoon. And this being the year 2013, my name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. With me, as always,
it's Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association, and I'm actually in Toronto, so yes.
Located in downtown Toronto. No, not so much anymore, eh?
No.
Downtown Toronto. Downtown Toronto is basically one big freaking dig, isn't it? It's like one big hole in downtown Toronto right now, isn't it?
It is. There's so much construction going on. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
I mean, you talk about recessions all over the place. There is no real estate recession whatsoever in Toronto.
No. Like there are skyscrapers upon skyscrapers upon skyscrapers being built, and then they're going down. They're rebuilding Union Station, adding new subways, and they're adding a tunnel between the island airport and the mainland. It is awesome to see, but my God, it is painful to get anywhere in New York City. Do something about that, would you, Asif? New York. I said New
Right.
York. I meant to say Toronto, but do something about that, would you, Asif? Please.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do, man.
All right.
I'm right on it. My next project.
Big show today. 6 stories. We do not have an app. Nothing really, piqued our fancy. I got this great Co Everywhere t-shirt.
Nice.
My good friend Tony Longo, who's the co-founder and the CEO. I interviewed Tony on Tether.tv. The episode will be, or is actually live right now. But he sent me this. God, I love getting
jealous,
t-shirts.
Man, I gotta say I'm jealous. I like that. I gotta get one.
Well, you know what? These guys, great guys, I really enjoyed having them on. We had them as a guest here. We talked about them all the time. They were very aggressive with us, and I really like it. So, I'll promote them. I like the shirt. It's very cool. Long sleeve tees. Go. Thanks, Tony. I really appreciate you sending this. But we do have a stellar show. Our guest today is Karl Martin, who is the founder and CEO of a company that we featured on a story a couple of weeks ago called Nimmi. And I tell you, when we want to get somebody, we go out and get somebody. So Karl is he's a fellow Torontonian, Go Canada, and he's the one that is building the bracelet that actually identifies you and authenticates you with your heartbeat and your ECG, basically. And it's very cool. We're going to be talking about how, why get into this, why build Nimmi, and then what the impact of things like the fingerprint scanner on the iPhone 5S does to his business, which is pretty awesome. So we'll have Karl a little bit later in the show. But before we get into that, I'm very interested, Asif, what are you doing in Toronto, man? This is 2 weeks in a row. Aren't you supposed to be traveling around the world?
Well, I was away this week, Rob. I mean, I did go to Dallas and
I don't believe
Chicago
you.
this week.
I don't believe you.
But yeah, it's nice. I'm home for a few days, and trying to catch up on just staying in touch with people here and seeing some family and all that, right? But anyhow, there's plenty going on as usual. We've got a couple of big events coming up in the next few weeks to finish out October here. So starting with next week on the 24th and 25th in New York, we have the Street Fight Summit. So our good friends over at Street Fight. I won't be there this time, but it's always a great event, and I know they're gonna blow it out of the water again. It's just amazing. So that should be great. And then the week right after that, the 28th to the 30th in Chicago, is the Retail Ramp Conference. Super excited about that one. 400 or 500 of the biggest retailers in the world will be there. I'll be there. I'm actually emceeing it now, so there's plenty going on. So if you're in Chicago, 28th to 30th, drop by at the McCormick Place. We'll see you there.
Yeah, and the only event that I want to push, really, quite frankly, is this event called the Open Mobile Summit. It's the 12th to the 14th of November in San Francisco. Just go to openmobilemedia.com and you'll find a little bit more information. Great lineup of speakers in San Francisco, and I'm going to do my damnedest to get out there and be a part of it as a media sponsor, that's for sure. And I also want to say, look, I just came back from Toronto, where we tried to meet again, and it's never destined to work. And at Android TO, I had an absolute blast speaking at Android TO. I introduced what I call the May Boswell continuum of mobile revenue. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, you're going to have to go to untether.tv. In the blog, you can there's a link there to my presentation, if that's at all of any interest to you at all. But I had a blast, and I love the DX3 guys who put this on. They also put DX3 on, obviously, in March in Toronto as well. But this was a very well-run event, 4th year, 600 plus people, and it was just jammed. It was a lot of fun, good energy at Android TO. And they do this every year, so if you're interested in participating, just go to androidto.com. It's too late this year, but next year. There's always next year. So I had a blast, and I really appreciate them asking me to speak. I had fun. I love doing that kind of stuff. I swore my head off, though. I don't know if you like. I swore my head off. Yes, I was the first one early in the morning to crack the swear barrier, and then I just accelerated from there.
Oh dear.
It was. Oh dear, is right. One guy walked out of he just walked down and walked out. I said, like, sorry if I offended you. And I think he just flipped me the bird and walked out. It's pretty funny. All right, well, what do you say we jump into this? We don't have an app. As I said, I don't have an app. There is, if you have an app out there that you want us to feature, please let us know, because I've exhausted my pool of really cool applications. Although I've downloaded a couple and I'm on waiting lists and I have not been able to use them. So as soon as I'm off the waiting list to be able to get into them, I will start bringing them to you. But if you have one, you can reach out. You could be featured here, Rob at untether.tv or asif@thelbmay.com. So what do you say we just jump right into the news?
Let's do it.
All right. First story, when we talk about, we're going to be talking about to Karl about authentication, using the body for authentication. But these devices that we carry are exactly that. They can be used as authentication. We've heard of different companies offering location-based authentication. Are you supposed to be where you where you say you are to authenticate transactions? And here's a company called Zumigo, and I think that's how you say it. Zumigo.
Yeah.
Zumigo.
I think so.
They launched this transaction fraud platform, and there's a couple of location-based aspects to this, but it's an API, and there are 3 parts to this service that detects transactional fraud, authenticates mobile devices, and validates device ownership. So it all kind of ties in very, very well. They have 3, so those 3 pieces to the suite are Radius, Authentication, and Assure. And the Radius, obviously, is exactly that, right? It's about, are you who you say you are and where you say you actually are, right? That's what authenticates the piece there.
Yeah, they're just basically checking that you're in proximity or vicinity of the merchant or the ATM at the time of the transaction. So
I like that. And then authentication is basically is quite literally, do you have the right to be in this account or this trading account? And it's an API that is tapped in. You basically put it into your application if you want authentication. And then there's a little bit of a location piece as well. And then the last one is the Assure one. What is the Assure one, Asif?
Well, basically, this one I think is really interesting. So what they do is that they look at your carrier that your phone is associated with, the billing and the billing system associated with that, and they make sure that phone in fact matches with your plan, and it's part of your the service you subscribe to. So, in other words, it's not a throwaway phone, or it's not some kind of somebody that's trying to jack your number or something like that. So they're actually checking the validity of that.
Yeah, I like it. I think that you have to offer these 3 things. I like the idea that you have, location authentication. I think that's so very important, right? Is to be able to say, listen, yes, I am here, and I am enabling this transaction to happen. And I think that you think about companies like Square that enable this, right? So as soon as there's a pairing in the store with the Square terminal, basically, it says, okay, you are who you are, a photo pops up, and then you can get visual authentication as well as location authentication. And I think that those are the things. But I love that it ties into the carrier, ties into the phone number, ties into the fact does this phone and does this person in this location have the right to access these accounts? And I think that very, very, very cool. I would say the only challenge here is that, there isn't one, but I think about our resource of the week at the end of this, which is talking about the wearable computing, and I think about Nimmi, and I think there's going to be this crossover that happens with wearable devices or wearable technology and this kind of authentication when it comes to payments. And it isn't going to be Retina; it's going to be something that you're wearing or something that proximity based that enables this. Probably your pulse, probably just the warmth of your body. But very cool. I like this. I like this kind of stuff.
I do too. Yeah.
So
Very
it's
good.
Zumigo, and you can go to Zumigo exactly as it sounds, Zumigo.com. Z if you're in Canada, right? That's our first story. All right, what if I said New York? What do you think of when you go to New York? You think of Times Square, you think of Broadway, you think of disaster after disaster after disaster, which is SpiderMan, right? The live musical or the live show. But
Yes, SpiderMan Turn Off the Dark, it's
turn off
called.
the dark. It's like turn on the lights so they don't fall down again.
Yeah.
It's a terrible joke. Terrible joke.
Yeah, so live Broadway show at the Foxwoods Theater on 42nd Street, and basically they are using location-based technology, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the iBeacon kind of stuff that we've been talking about for a while, so that as people are passing by the theater and they've opted in, they can receive messages, notifications, promotional video, 30-second promotional video about the show, and you can buy tickets and do all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting way to call attention, as you're passing by in the neighborhood that this is happening. I think especially good if they're doing this, in scenarios where the show might be starting in like 30 minutes, and there's last minute tickets available, and they can discount them and fill the theater, fill the empty seats. I think that would be really good. So I like this. I think this is just part of how we use iBeacon technology going forward.
Yeah, you hit it so much. Is that, you know what? I don't know many people who are going to opt in for a preview of the show and the ability to buy tickets when you're just walking by, right? And this is all voluntary. So if you have a device that accepts these things like iBeacon or an iPhone or NFC or low energy Bluetooth eventually and Wi-Fi, but it requires too much. Like, I'm not going to accept this if it's just a preview or there's no discount on the ticket. But I love this expiring inventory. I'm walking by and it says, hey, you know what? For $10, you can come and see Spider-Man right now. Right now. Yeah. That to me makes absolute sense. The rest of it doesn't as a promotion, because you know what it does? It downloads it onto your device. And I don't want that. I don't want any of that stuff. I want free tickets or discount tickets. And if you see the lineups for the ticket box office in Times Square, you'll know that many people do. And if you can enable it this way through iBeacon, yes.
Yep. And the other thing I do like about it is in the piece that gets sent to you, they bring up a calendar of the show dates, and you can obviously buy tickets, but they have a click to call feature too. So even if you don't want to do that transaction online, you can just click and call right to the box office and place your order that way. So I like that as well.
Yeah, I am. Certainly Mobiquity Networks is the company that's doing this, and we're going to see much more of this, but there has to be value affixed to it, and I love the expiring inventory angle. Nice, Asif. Nice.
There you go.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, right?
Exactly.
They should be listening to you. All right.
Yeah.
Our third story, man, I love Shazam. I have loved Shazam since the first day I saw it. It was love at first sight. They have 385 million users. They are their own advertising network, and the ad networks that are out there right now don't even know that they're being disrupted one song, one television show at a time by Shazam. They're the best kept secret when it comes to that. If they don't see it, they are going to one day own the world of advertising. And so they ran this promotion with Old Navy in the United States that basically identified music in the store and gave you 25% discount if you're running the Shazam application. And now they're trying to bring this over to the UK. But I love how conservative the UK is about this. They don't know if it's exactly what their customers want. But this thing drew a tremendous amount of value and increased transactions as a result of just in the store, identifying that you're in the store through the music, giving you a 25% discount, actually increased basket, and the products went out the door. So I'm kind of torn because I don't like the idea of giving a 25% discount when somebody's already in the freaking store, but I love the idea of Shazam and bricks and mortars.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about Shazam before, on the sort of TV and radio side. So for me, it's the connectivity between the two, between the bricks and mortar location and what the TV commercial. So when you see that commercial come on and you're sitting in front of the TV with your phone or your tablet with Shazam on it, and it hears the audio signal coming off TV and it Shazams it, creates a call to action with an offer for 25% off at Old Navy, and that drives you to then go to the store. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And what they're talking about here potentially, and they're not doing this yet, is to create a relationship then between what it Shazammed in the television environment, and then remembering that data, and recalling that data when you actually walk into the store.
So if it's a jeans commercial, then it would be related to a discount on the jeans.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so the idea of being able to, not just surface the offer when you first hear it on TV, but to store it in the system, and then to represent it or present a new offer on jeans when you happen to walk into an Old Navy at any time after it's already Shazam the TV commercial. So I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
I wonder if there's an opportunity to kind of surprise and delight with something like this in Shazam. Because if you think about it, if there's an incentive, like this is where I think about Brian Wong and his company Keep, right? And is there a way that they can do like a Shazam Keep mixture with Old Navy or some retail experiment? And hear me out on this, because I'm just thinking about it as we're going here, is that there is always an opportunity to get a discount with Old Navy. And you've heard me rail about Old Navy and Banana Republic and The Gap. It's just ridiculous how much they give away. Rob,
it only cost them $1.50 to make the jeans.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they're making a 40% discount on anything is like they're still making a crap load of money, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about this, is that if it was like you Shazam all the ads, like anytime there's a Gap or an Old Navy commercial that comes on, you Shazam it, and then that's the goal, is just to Shazam it. But then not every time that you go into the store you get a discount or anything like that, or on every product. But every once in a while it's because like you walk in there and it's somehow there's a loyalty play, and because you've Shazammed these number of songs and you bought some jeans, you go up to the cash, you think you're gonna pay $60, and all of a sudden it's like surprise and delight, it's their $10 jeans, because you've done the work that has gone into it. So it's a loyalty play, but it's not an expectation. It surprises you. You leave there with a smile on your face, thinking you were going to spend $60 and you only spend 10. Something like that, way better, right? Is that don't give away your product, man. That's the biggest challenge here, is that you can get into this and then you can go bankrupt. And that's the big challenge. And if you listen to this episode I just put up on Tether with Rev Trax, he'll tell you that, is that basically, a lot of companies are suffering as a result of going hog wild on coupons. It's ridiculous what they've done, and they have no control over it. And you have to control it, and I don't think that those guys are doing it. So that's my long rant. But is there an idea here? Man, I'd love to see that.
I like that idea. I think that idea of surprising people is always a good one. I think it's it creates that emotional connection, right, to the platform. And up here in Canada we have Cineplex, the movies, with their Scene loyalty platform, and they do that to some extent. So
they do.
You're earning points all the time. You aren't necessarily tracking your points balance every minute of every day, but basically when you go in and like you go to buy popcorn, and they actually run TV commercials like this here, where like you go to pay for your thing and you hand them your Scene card, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, the movie's free today. And you're like, what do you mean it's free today? Like, oh, well, it's just part of being a Scene member, right? So
it's never happened to me. That's fiction to me. The other side of it is, what if you did this? I keep thinking about how do you get people from that commercial to gauge from that commercial how effective that is, and then how do you get them from their house to your store, which is so important, especially with a technology like Shazam. So what if you did this? Is like if there's a Gap or an Old Navy commercial on television and it said like Shazam now, right? You just knew it, Shazam now, and it popped up and it said 25% discount if you get in within the next 16 hours, and then it decreases as time goes on. So like 3 days from now it's 10%, right? Like
our friends at the meat pack in Guatemala.
Absolutely, and that was like what, they have 2 minutes to get to the store, right? But I like the idea of urgency and an expiration date on some of these things, or a declining expiration date. So there's so much you can do, but just giving away 25% just because you're in the store, it just kills me that people do that, right? But I like this concept, and boy, do I ever freaking love Shazam. I love this company.
It's one of my favorite. It's actually, you talk about all these apps that we download. I mean, I swear to you, Rob, I use Shazam 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's because you have kids and you have to understand what they're listening to.
Yeah, I mean, easily, man. There's always something I'm hearing like, what is that? And I'm just like, it's just there. It's like, Yeah,
Yeah, it is, and it's on everybody's phone right now. So you know,
it is.
385 million customers. Anyways, I could go on about these guys. I've had them on Tether.tv. It might be time to have them back because I'm just blown away by what they're doing. So very cool. Those are the first three stories. Man, we just cruised through those. Hopefully you found I know you found tremendous value in this conversation. So please, if you have any comments of this, if you love Shazam like we do, if you hate them, reach out. You know how to reach us. Robin on Tether.tv or Sif@thelbma.com. It's on to the guest. I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, we featured this Toronto-based company called Nimmi. And they do a heart rate monitor that is about identification. So it uses your ECG to basically identify you and authenticate you. And there's all these different scenarios that it could do, like open up your car, turn on your car, pay, open your house door. Your house door? Yeah, your house door. So I tracked down Karl Martin, who is the founder and CEO, and we sat down and had a long conversation. This episode is not live. You're getting a sneak preview right now. Boy, oh boy, aren't you lucky? And we are talking about why get into this. These guys are researchers from the University of Toronto, and they spun this company, they spun the research out into Nimmi. They thought about the problem a little bit more differently than everybody else was doing, and I love that. And so we talk about why spin it out, and also what the impact of the fingerprint reader on the iPhone 5S has on their business. And it is good. It is good. So here is Karl Martin, the co-founder and CEO of Nimmi. What's it like inventing while this industry is being invented around you? You're really in that spot, like a primordial soup kind of time, isn't it?
Right. Well, it's definitely an exciting time. I mean, you go to conferences in this space, the wearable technology, and you can really feel it that everything's trying to figure itself out. You know, there's all sorts of interesting gadgets and gizmos, and everybody's thinking, well, what am I going to use this for? But at the same time, you realize, well, this is the future. You know, it's all starting here. So as a company, we're very humble, and we say we don't know what the answer is, but we're putting forward our technology and saying we believe this is part of what the future is.
I see that everywhere. You know, I walk into an Apple store, like I just did this yesterday, and you know, because I like to check up on what's going on, what is Apple is selling, and there's Fitbit, and there's Nike Fuel Band, and then there's the Shine, and then there's, you know, there just seems to be an incredible number of wearable technology out there but I only have one wrist. So and they all seem to be attacking the same challenge. Talk about what you're doing with Nimmi here.
Right. So actually, you brought up a good point, which is this is going to be this competition for body real estate, which is we only have so much space on our body. But you know, you talk about all those fitness activity trackers, and that's probably the most mature yet still young part of this market. What we're doing with the Nimmi is looking at something completely different, which is identity. Right. It's saying how can you use identity, put it on the body and make it essentially a powerful tool for everyday life. And so what the Nimmi is it's a bracelet, a wristband that authenticates your identity based on your electrocardiogram. So this is the electrical signal that your heart produces as it beats. The research goes back many years. We were a spin-off of the University of Toronto, but it was more recently when we realized that this biometric technology really makes sense as wearable technology, because when you put it on the body and you're wearing something that knows who you are, now everything like passwords and pins and keys and cards, all of that can essentially be replaced with a single wireless signal coming off of your body. And as far as we know, nobody else is looking at this. So in some ways, I think we're sort of opening up a new area of wearable technology. And so it's definitely very exciting to us.
Like this goes beyond the kind of whole quantified self movement, which is what we're hearing about these devices, right? Where you're, you know, I did a fascinating episode recently about the quantified self with Nora Young from CBC, who you probably know from Spark, and we talked about this back and forth around, you know, how we've become lazy, really, because of the technology about quantifying ourselves. Like in the olden days, we used to, you know, write journals, like pen to paper and write journals and our thoughts and our feelings, and now we just measure steps, and if we hit our 10,000, we're quantified. Right?
So, I mean, pointing actually to this whole quantified self movement, I think one of the big problems you find is sure, we have a lot of data. What are you going to do with that data, right? And I think that's the real dilemma. Sensors have become very affordable to, as startups can create new devices. It's very accessible now, but how is this going to actually make people's lives, better or easier in some way? And so us as a company, we want to focus on something that really has very specific use cases rather than being completely wide open. The reason why we did this was simply because our background is in biometrics. We actually came into the wearable space. That's not where we started. And we realized that by bringing this typically more security-oriented technologies into something that is much more usable to general consumers, we actually have a shot of really changing the way we interact with technology. And I think that's what really motivates us to say, hey, we have some technology here. Yeah, it's cool and
looks great.
But what really gets us going is saying, hey, we can actually completely change, touch screens completely change our idea of mobiles. This concept of putting identity on the body can change the concept of what wearable technology and interaction technologies can mean.
So, it's so fascinating. It starts in the University of Toronto, U of T, what you must see with the new Apple, with the new iPhone that just came out with fingerprint sensing or scanning, must fill you with at least a little bit of happiness, because Apple is focusing on that, and security now is, like, we're talking about the gateway to everything, not only to your car and your home, but to commerce and your wallet and everything else, emanates from owning identity. Facebook's trying to do it. Obviously, Apple's trying to do it. Google's trying to do it. And then there you are in the middle of this fray. So that must have filled you with a little bit of happiness to see that.
I definitely. People all talk about competition, but what's actually more important for a small startup is to validate that there's a market and people care about what you're doing.
Right.
And so when Apple came out with the Touch ID fingerprint system, which everybody knew was coming, it wasn't a huge surprise. We actually loved that just because it got the conversation going in terms of what biometrics mean in the consumer space. But at the same time, we also thought it's very sort of old school thinking, this idea that you would put, the single purpose sensor on a mobile device where, we launched a week before Apple with the Touch ID, and we felt that ours was pretty much 5 to 10 years ahead of what they were doing. It's not just about unlocking your phone, it's about unlocking everything. And it's also not just about security, it's about how you can use your identity to have a hyper-personalized user experience. We're talking the future of smart homes, automated office, all things like that.
I know. It's astounding where this can lead, but I always worry that the consumer is the thing that holds us back, holds all the technology back. It's us, really. Like, the technology is out there, but it's about changing behaviors in consumers and making sure that there's a sense of security that things are going to work fine all the time. And I think that, we're not there yet, are we? We're not ready for this.
No, I think, the great thing about today and being able to launch something directly on the internet is that you have a direct window to who those early adopters are, right? Because you can't launch a product like this and assume that,
it's ready for everybody.
Exactly. And so that's the great thing. We have some pretty rabid fans, actually, and we love them. And those are the people that are going to help us learn. And, we're pretty humble about the ideas that all these use cases we think about for our technology, really, they're just ideas and proposals, right? And you need to get something out there and see what people say about it. And I fully expect that there's somebody out there that has way better ideas than we do. And that's what really gets us excited as well.
And that is Karl Martin, the founder and CEO of Nymi. You can go to getnymi.com for more information. They're taking pre-orders, and if you are a developer out there, they have a brand new, they want to obviously extend this into the developer community, so they have an SDK that you can sign up for. All you have to do is go to getnymi.com/develop, and sign up for that. So if you're a developer and you're thinking that, how can I use this? How can I use an ECG as a way to authenticate? And what does that mean for a business or a payment or access to a gym, whatever it might be, right? There's so many ways that you can use this technology. So think about it. Sign up at getnimmi.com/develop. And that's Nimmi is Nymi. Nymi. And I thank Karl for coming on to Untether.tv, and I thank him for letting us use this clip on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. All right, awesome. Back at her. Story number 4. Asif.
Story number 4. Yes, this is a company called Trafi. It's spelled Trafi. And these guys are based in Lithuania. And they raised a little bit of money, about $500,000 US, coming from a company, Practica Capital. And they've got a guy named Sylvain Grand who's joining the board. He's ex-Nokia Maps guy, so they got some Google Nokia guys behind this as well. And what this is all about is this is basically just like Citymapper or Hopstop or anything like that we've talked about before, where it's real time. Yeah, hip local, real-time traffic data, public transit data, all that kind of stuff, bicycle routes, taxis, all that stuff. Just like the Citymapper and Hopstop that we've talked about on the show before. But what's different is they don't limit it just to public data, that's freely available out there. They're actually going out and building their own data set on top of the public. They're actually combining public data with stuff that they're manually sourcing, if you will, and they're doing this in markets that are much smaller and much a little harder to gather data on than, let's say, in New York or Toronto or San Francisco. So they're doing this in places like obviously Lithuania, but Mexico City, Sao Paulo, markets like that haven't been tackled by some of these guys, and where the public data is really insufficient. So. I'll make one last comment on this, and then I'll love your thoughts on it, Rob. But for me, what I like about this is it's what we say all the time. Like maybe they've been listening to our show and we just didn't know about it, but they're not just using other people's stuff and solely on third-party data. They're actually collecting and building their own data. So there's some value in the fact that they have their own data, and I love that.
Yes. So do I. I just wonder, see, if the only question I have, I like this as well, is that, emerging economies, developing nations, cities that where the data is not as clean as big cities, it's a great area to focus on. And typically a company would build this kind of service in hopes that they could sell location-based advertising and make $1 billion, trillion, gazillion dollars from that. But it doesn't seem that these guys, is that their business model, or is their business model just to, get acquired?
Well, I mean, my first blush is I think it's about getting acquired. I mean, look at Hops picked up, relatively quickly by Apple. We covered that. And I think the other factor here for me is in terms of user base. I mean, these guys haven't been around that long. They've already got 300,000 unique users on the platform. And what's interesting is from a sheer market size perspective, Mexico City and Sao Paulo are like two of the biggest cities in the world, right? So in terms of population, so this is not New York or San Francisco. This is like 100 times
big
the size
cities,
of New York or San Francisco, right? In terms of people. So in terms of user base, I think this could be big. In terms of the data that they're collecting, and the value of the company could be quite large, right? I
like this. I mean, in Lithuania alone, they have 300,000 users. Like in Lithuania, they have 300,000 unique users. So, I like the idea of staying niche and finding these little cities where nobody else is attacking.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the history of acquisitions made by companies like Groupon and Living Social, right?
Yes.
It's been all these little niche deal sites, that are just focused on one little city and one little market.
City. Yeah.
That own the city. And so I think there's a big opportunity here. I think this is really smart, personally. So good luck to them. And, we'll reach out and see if we can get these guys to come and talk a little bit about it as well.
Or we could just go to Lithuania and visit.
Exactly.
I'm up for that. Well, if you'd like a little bit more information, now they said that they're doing a whole redesign of their website and they need it, but you can go to Trafi.com, TRAFI.com, for a little bit more information about them. 300,000 unique users monthly in Lithuania. That's big. Man, I would kill for 300,000 users, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
At my presentation,
these 40,000 people that watch this show. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, yeah, that's 40,000. Yeah, 300,000 is fine. When I was doing this presentation at Android TO, one of the guys stood up and I asked for somebody to scream out how many downloads they've had, and somebody said 27,000, and I said, "Are you happy or sad about that?" And he's like, "I'm sad," and I'm like, "You're an idiot. Be happy with your 27,000, right?" Like, anyway. 300,000 is a lot of people, and there's opportunity. If you can't turn 300,000, the eyeballs of 300,000 people into some revenue, it's not a business. So that's my view. These guys, they can just stay in Lithuania and make a lot of money, but they're going to, with 500K, they're going to be aggressive. I don't see that happening, but Trafi.com. Good luck, guys. All right, you know what? I've heard rumors that the NSA has been bought by Google. And I think our fifth story here really could be the NSA. Now, Google knows everything about everybody on the planet, pretty much, right? You have to sign in with Google Plus in order to get the services. They own Gmail, they own YouTube, they own you and me, right? And Google knows everything about everybody. And now they've asking for permission. They've got this mobile meter app, which is really, it was a rumor for a little while, but they've confirmed that it's actually happening. They've confirmed that they've actually been doing this for a number of months now. Volunteer basis only. That means you would have had to put up your hand. You would have been notified if you're part of this thing, so don't get all panicky. But essentially what this is it's tracking all of your activity. This is opt-in. I can't stress this enough. If you didn't hear about this, if you haven't opted in, if you don't know about it, don't worry. Google's just tracking you in every other way except for this way. But it's volunteer to track your mobile app and web usage, like just to get patterns, to understand location, to understand when you use it, contextualized, how you use it, what the weather is, what your name is, all that kind of stuff. This is serious tracking activity. And don't worry, because as I said, I keep saying this, it was opt-in. That's what they've guaranteed. It's opt-in, and you would have been notified, or you would have had to have put your hand up and vehemently volunteered for this. And if you didn't do that, then don't worry about it. But this is insane, really. This is tracking everything.
Well, I think it's insane because it's coming from Google, and we're always scared when Google, comes in and says that they're doing something like this.
Yes.
But the reality is it's opt-in. This is effectively a panel, right?
Small group of people.
It's a panel, right? So it's no different than, in some respect, the placed stuff that we've talked about lately. Nielsen's got their own mobile app on Android that's doing virtually the same thing that you can opt into and be part of that survey group or that panel. So that's what this is. This is a panel. Let's not blow it out of proportion. I think we get scared though when we hear it's Google, right? Because it's Google, right? And we're always worried about what they're going to do with our data, but it's a panel.
It is, and you know what? Like, you have to be a special person that is interested in doing this.
I didn't get invited.
Yeah, can you imagine? But I mean, I use Moves, right? Yep. And it tracks everything. Like, that's what I use to remember where I've been and how long I was in a place and how long the drive was and all those things. Those questions that you always have when you're kind of tracking the quantified self, is that this is the lazy man's way to do it. But look, Apple is doing it with their new operating system. Google is doing it. Everybody is doing this. This is just part of the reality of carrying these devices. Your carriers are doing it. But remember all that kerfuffle when Google scooped everybody's Wi-Fi addresses and pinpoint location like this. Same thing with Apple about unencrypted locations or list of locations on the device. About a year ago. So we don't think about that anymore. And here is Google saying, listen, we're going to track everything about you, not just your location, but your patterns on the device as well. And there are people willing to do that. And if people, like I keep coming back, if 2 years ago you had said, look, track everything that I do, people would have said, no, you're nuts. I will never do that. And here we are 2 years later.
But it's happening. I mean, we remember, it might have been a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. We talked about Apple tracking everything on the device from the perspective of optimizing battery life.
Absolutely.
Remember that?
Yep.
So, I mean, there's
it's
a
not
reason.
New.
There's a reason people that they want to do this, right? And yes, it might be about advertising in some respects, or helping them optimize algorithms and things like that. But there's also benefits,
Yeah.
You know, and I think the challenge is, and I said this to somebody yesterday. I had lunch with a lawyer yesterday, and we're talking about some of these things. And I was saying that, you know, I think it's at the end of the day, we just got to get used to this stuff's going to be happening all the time and in ways we haven't even thought of yet. But the important thing for these companies that are putting these services out there and putting these technologies in place is to inform the user, inform people, not just to say opt in or opt out, but when you opt in, here's how we're going to benefit from this, and here's how you're going to benefit from this.
Well, I always wonder what the incentive is, right? At least when you're doing something with with Nielsen, they're giving you like Amazon gift cards or something.
But they're giving you rewards in this thing. Google's giving you rewards in this.
Like what kind of rewards though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't asked to participate, Rob.
Can you imagine like the rewards? Yeah.
Yeah.
Free apps and free Gmail? No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. You're right. I mean, privacy is a weird thing, but this is getting into NSA territory, right? And I think that it's weird the timing of this to come out because this just resonates in such a weird way right now when everybody knows what's going on with Snowden and everything that's happened as a result of that, and the documents are still being leaked, and the fact that there's relationships with these big companies and the government and tracking and deep data dives, and it just. I'm not paranoid, man. Like I live my life in the open, but it's frightening along these lines. And I think that this has been going on for many years. But now that it's just coming to light and it's being surfaced, not Google stuff, but just the way that they put one and one in data together to equal, a predictive analytics tool that can tell you whether you're going to default on your mortgage or get a divorce, right? All that stuff is there. But now it's so in your face that that this is an interesting time in our lives, boy. So
there you go.
Google's mobile meter app. If you have volunteered and you're allowed to talk about it, we would love to have you on this very show. This very show right here. So reach out and let us know. You can do it anonymously. We'll do like a black cover. We'll blur out your face and we'll disguise your voice. All right, our last story here. This 3D printing world. We are getting into this, aren't we? I want a new ear printed.
Is that what you're getting for Christmas, Rob? 3D printer?
3D printer. Yes. I wish.
Yeah. Yes, I thought Santa was bringing you a 3D printer. But anyways, this is a cool story. So this is a retailer in the UK called Asda, a very big retailer over there, and they've got a special thing going on in the store. Again, it's about driving traffic to the store. You can't do this anywhere else. So they've got a 3D printer set up in the store. And basically, you can bring in anything. You can bring in your pet, your car, yourself, whatever. And you can have this 3D printer scan you effectively and then create a model of the thing that's been scanned that's like a 20 centimeter model or 8 inches, if you will, of whatever this thing is, and for $40 you can do this. So, and one of the suggestions here is for Christmas, instead of sending Christmas cards, you can send out models of yourself or your family. So it's interesting, but I like the idea of driving traffic and interest around something new like this, like 3D printing, and using this as a way to get people to a store. And the price point's not that bad. I mean, sorry, this is 40 pounds, 63 US dollars is the conversion today. But this is kind of cool, and I don't know. I might try it if I was there.
Well, I would 100% try this. And who doesn't want a little figurine of yourself? Right?
Exactly, right?
Hey, look, it's little Rob. Yay! I'd like my own bobblehead. This is pretty cool. You start to see this cropping up in many other stores over the next little while. And I think that, maybe I'll ask this. Do you think that this is like kind of a little fad, maybe? Of, people are going to pop up and they're going to do this and they're going to do these 3D printing stores and then next year it'll be something new? Or do you think that this has legs?
I think this particular application, I think is doesn't have, it's not that scalable.
No.
first of all, putting a 3D printer in every store, I don't know how much, from a cost perspective, I don't think we're quite there yet where, it makes sense to do that. But I think as a way to drive traffic right now, as a campaign-based thing, I think this is really cool. I was joking around about Christmas, but one of the things, the other suggestions is for like wedding cake toppers and things like this, right? Yeah. Which it makes a little bit more sense to me. So, maybe if you're in the business of weddings or funerals or something else, this kind of application where it's about scanning people and scanning things like that makes sense. But 3D printing in general,
it's wicked,
is huge, right? I mean, making parts, making whatever, I mean, is a huge business, and it's just beginning.
I totally agree. So that's Asda doing 3D printing in the store to drive traffic to their store, and I think this is such a unique Christmas gift. And I love the idea of weddings, like cake toppers.
If I get over there, Rob, you're getting a mini me for Christmas. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, please. It's going to be of you, though, right? Yes. It's going to be like a mini Asif.
Yeah. Just what you always wanted.
I'll put you right over here, right next to me on the desk.
We might not be able to actually connect in person, Rob, but
you'll send me a mini. I love it. We will see if we're gonna have to go somewhere like Lithuania in order to be able to. We're just gonna have to descend on Lithuania. We'll do the This Week in Location-Based Marketing strategic session for 2014 in Lithuania.
Yeah, live from Lithuania.
Live from Lithuania. I'd love to do that.
Even Letterman hasn't done that yet.
No, he has not. There's probably a reason, but I would like to break that. I'd love to do that. I think it would be fun. A live show on stage somewhere. Where can we do that? We'll work on it.
Yeah.
And it would be like 7 people in the audience. Maybe we won't do that. All right. Those are the 6 stories that we had for this week. Awesome stories. A great guest in Karl Martin, who is the founder and CEO of Nymi. Only thing left for us to do is finish this off with a resource of the week. And hey, lo and behold, it's about wearables. Ever heard of this term before? Wearables? No, I don't know. I don't know anything about those. You? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's something that's coming up all the time. This
Big
resource is great. I love this. I love when we see new data. So this is coming from Juniper Research, and they're saying that the wearable device industry, which includes smartwatches and glasses and Google Glass and all that kind of stuff, is worth $19 billion by 2018. That's
currently worth what?
The current market is $1.4 billion.
Yeah. So if you want to do some math on that, that's big dollars.
Yeah, that's like $17 billion.
And they say that this is a combination of the hardware and then the software. We've often talked about this, that the software is the most, like I believe, right? He said, you have to convince me to commit to the product. So the actual wearable technology, but the software is where you add the layers and you add the revenue potential. So they're talking about a combination of hardware sales, software as a service, so rental software for these devices, as well as additional accessories for the devices as well. Now, I don't think that many people are going to buy more than one of these things, right? So I always think, listen, once you commit to a platform, it's the software. It's up to the software, and opening that up, like Nimmi is doing to developer community, to be able to enhance that, hardware with some great software, build an ecosystem, and that is where you're going to get this $19 billion industry from.
Absolutely. So, I haven't. Have you bought a Samsung Gear yet?
No, I haven't. The one that has, I can't remember what it's called. There's a brand new, and I ordered it. It's a brand new Fitbit. It's not the Fitbit Flex. This one actually has a display, a watch display on it.
Force?
The Force, yeah. Force or Force? Yeah.
Force, yeah.
And it's not out yet. It should be out in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and that's the one that I've committed to. So I will not commit to the one that any other one. But for me, it is about that Fitbit Force, because it actually does. The opportunities are there for enhancements now that it's got a little bit of a display. Even if it's just a phone call that comes in on my phone and it displays who it is, a little bit of a notification about an email coming in. I don't care what it is. But I believe that this is kind of where we start to get into this really great world where it's interacting with multiple devices. And so I'll give that a try. But I don't need a big screen and a computer on my wrist. I can't do that.
Well, they were talking in the same article here that we're going to post. They were talking about this one called the Philippe, in partnership with AT&T, which is for kids.
Yes, it's a phone. It's a wrist phone, basically. Right?
Yeah, it's a wrist phone for kids. So like you could call home, call dad, call mom, whatever. I think that's interesting. So
I think that there's use cases like this, right? That, but at some point, something's going to happen where we're going to be using one of these things. And I only saw one person at Android TL wearing Google Glass, and he looked like kind of a moron, right? Like it was an anomaly. And I think that whole Google Glass thing has subsided, and there's going to be a new version that comes out in 2014. Maybe if the price point is right, but I just don't believe that that's the right fit. I don't think the wrist is either, but there's got to be something that, in order for this industry to really take off, it can't be always just about the quantified self or health. It has to be something of tremendous value. And we've had these conversations many times about the healthcare industry and the wearable, the fiber with nodes in it that actually, you basically just wear the clothes, and it's got all of these different sensors in it. So. It's going to be really interesting. I think this is really a cool space, and I'm fascinated by this.
Even some of the stuff that you put right on the skin is kind of interesting too. I mean, we'll see where that goes. But I've seen some interesting kind of tattoos and stuff that you can just layer right on top of the skin that are kind of like stickers almost. But yeah, we'll see.
Big. So maybe 18 billion isn't, or 19 billion isn't enough, right? I think that if you start to move into this space and you really start to look at it, it's the opportunities are big. And not to mention just plain old sensors like those tattoos that you talk about, or disposable sensors, right?
Yeah.
Man.
Awesome.
So that's it. That'll be available at thelbma.com/research. Right?
Research. Yep.
All right. Well, those are the 6 stories. Our guest, which is Karl Martin, founder and CEO of Nymi. I don't know why I keep saying that, but I like this technology. Great resource in wearable market. It's set to explode 19 billion by 2018. And I believe that. I believe that that's probably underestimating the value of it. Who knows what it's going to be. And that's it. That's it for episode number 152. I don't know what else to say.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah. So we'll be back for episode number 153, which if you're doing the math, that is like 3 shy of our 3rd anniversary. A whole bunch of 3s there. So if you have any ideas for the show, if you want to comment about the show, if you want to be on the show, reach out. rob@untether.tv or steve@thelbma.com. And don't forget, wherever you download this application, go and give us a nice little review or a rating or a star or something like that. Whatever that currency is there, it helps us. We build these shows around that. And it helps us a lot to be able to get this podcast up in the rankings. So please, do us a favor. Come on. Anything else, Steve, or should we just shut this down?
I think we're good.
All right. Efficient little show today. We will see you next week for episode number 153, everybody. Have a great week.